As you heard, overregulation is top of mind with many in the cattle business. And the cattle industry's relationship with the Environmental Protection Agency has often been challenging due to burdensome regulations that can have a negative impact on farmers and ranchers. But as Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Russell Nemitz tells us, there may be some good news on the horizon thanks to the change in leadership at the EPA.
You take care of the land that you farm and you ranch. Why do you do that? Because you know it matters to yield in the future. And there needs to be a trust by those in Washington, D.C. that you care about that we partner together.
With those words, the new Environmental Protection Agency Administrator, Scott Pruitt, signaled that change is coming and the cattle industry may finally get some relief from overregulation. He was speaking to cattlemen and women at NCBA's annual legislative conference in Washington, D.C. Pruitt says he's working to build a partnership between the agency and the men and women who serve as stewards of our natural resources.
I think as we go forward, making sure that we're partnering together and hearing the voice of farmers and ranchers and those in agriculture across the country is very, very important, because I think up until the last few years that was a common practice, and of late it's not been. And so we don't start from a premise that we know best. We start from a premise that we've got partners at the local level that care about the same things that we care about, and we need to respect that and work with those folks.
And we really look forward to working with Mr. Pruitt throughout his tenure here at EPA and work to help cattlemen and farmers across this nation as it pertains to the rulemaking on all the many things that EPA regulates. It gives us a lot of opportunity to work together to have rules that protect the environment and also don't harm farmers and ranchers unnecessarily.
The Pruitt appointment is just one sign that things may improve for the beef industry under the new administration. President Trump also recently signed an executive order that begins the process to roll back the controversial Waters of the U.S. rule.
I think many of the instances we've seen over the last few years of this agency overreaching and having regulatory uncertainty as a result of not following the statutory framework is something that we're going to fix. We saw that particularly with the Waters of the United States rule, the WOTUS rule, and as your members indicated, that was something that needed to be addressed and fixed. The President took action on February 28th to do that with the executive order, and then we followed shortly thereafter to do away with that rule and make sure that it's done right going forward.
Very excited about Administrator Pruitt. I like his track record in Oklahoma of challenging the EPA when they overstep their bounds. And I think someone with that background is going to come in and take a real business-like look, a real common sense look at what regulations we need. We all want to protect our environment. Cattlemen and cattlewomen are the original environmentalists. So we're all on board on that, but we were not on board with overburdensome regulations we've dealt with in the last administration.
Pruitt recognizes that the relationship between the EPA and the beef industry has been rough over the past several years. It's something he's resolved to fix.
I think what's happened over the last several years is a competition, kind of an adversarial relationship, where this agency was seen as being a regulator that was trying to stop production and stop the ability to feed, this country and feed the world, actually. And that's not the approach we start from. We recognize that it's good to produce, it's good to grow, it's good to harvest the natural resources that God has provided us with, but to do so with a sensitivity to the environment.
We want clean water, we want clean air, and so it's important to strive to get those things, but at the same time, let's use common sense on rulemaking where we don't get unnecessarily burdened by over-regulatory rules that don't really help protect the environment but harm us greatly.
At the end of the day, land use decisions, private property owners, and those locally ought to be making decisions on how best to use their land. And we ought to be partnering with them as they do that, not dictating to them how they should use it.
Reporting from Washington, D.C., I'm Russell Nemitz for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.